Have you ever pulled on a pair of pants, wiggled a little, held your breath, and thought, okay, come on. Either the dryer has shrunk these pants or something weird is happening to my body. If you're a woman 40, 50, or more, and you have blamed the dryer, the scale, or your willpower, then you're in the right place. But here's the plot twist. What if your pants, your 3 a.m. wake-ups, your mood swings aren't punishments? What if they're little messages from your body saying, hey, what's going on here? I know you feel it too. Something's off here, right? Can we talk? Today we're going to talk about what your body is really saying and why it might be time to stop blaming the dryer. I used to think that my body changes meant that something was wrong with me until I realized they were messages, signals, leading me to more energy, clarity, and a deeper sense of freedom. I'm Stephanie Hutchins-White, and now as a women's health mentor, holistic nutrition coach, and energy practitioner, I help women over 40 decode their symptoms and hormones and trust their body's wisdom so they can feel, look, and sleep their best. In the You Being You podcast, we're not here for quick fixes or one-size-fits-all solutions. This is where science meets intuition, where we get to rewrite the old stories about aging, and where you get to take back your power one small step at a time. Join me and my guests each week as we uncover the missing links to your symptoms, dive deep into the mind-body connection, and explore how to thrive naturally at every stage of life. Your body is beautiful and it knows what it's doing. Get ready to unlock the energy you've been missing and have fun along the way. Pull up a seat. This is the You Being You podcast. Welcome back to the You Being You podcast, where we turn your symptoms into clues and help women 40 plus build a way of life that actually fits who you are now. Not who you were at 25 and not who Instagram says that you should be. I'm your host, Stephanie Hutchins-White, and as a holistic health and nutrition coach, I love helping women decode what their body is trying to say because I want you to feel more like yourself. The woman who now has steady energy, better sleep, calmer moods, and yes, pants that actually fit and feel comfortable. Today's episode is a snapshot of what I shared last week in the Stop Blaming the Dryer workshop, where I was sharing tools to show you how to start listening to what your body is really saying. I'm not going to teach the whole workshop here. That's for the women who came live or who watched the replay, but I am going to give you a taste of the ideas so that you can start looking at your symptoms differently, starting today. So let's start with the dryer. We all joke about it, right? You pull on your jeans and suddenly you're doing gymnastics in your bedroom and thinking while you're struggling to put your pants on, these used to feel really nice when I put them on. These were comfortable. I used to love these pants, but suddenly they don't feel great. And you're wondering, did the dryer shrink these or is it me? And underneath that joke, it usually is a mix of shame and frustration and a little bit of panic, right? You might be going down the rabbit hole of beating yourself up and thinking, what's going on? I don't feel like myself anymore. Is my body turning against me? I just don't understand. And here's what I want you to hear. Your body is not turning against you. It's not trying to push you around and be a jerk. It's frustratingly, I know, telling you that you're in the middle of an upgrade. Yes, an upgrade. So what am I talking about? If we think back to being 14 or 15 years old, and then we fast forward to when we were 18 years old, we think about that girl. She was very different at 14 or 15 than she was at 18, right? She was a very, very different person. If you're anything like me, you might even have changed your core friend group during this time period. You were looking for other girls who you resonated with a little bit more. You hung out with a new gang. From 14 to the jump to 18, you're upgrading. We were upgrading then too. Our brain was shifting to belong, and really our body was shifting. Your body was changing its shape. We were getting bigger hips. We were getting bigger breasts. And no one sat us down and said, oh, by the way, you're changing. You're not broken. You're just upgrading. Nobody stopped and said that to us, right? but we made it through somehow. And that's what perimenopause and menopause are, just like that. Your hormones are shifting again. Yes, it's true. And your brain is also rewiring, which I think is really fun and empowering. And your body, yep, she's doing her best to keep up, and she's changing too, just like you did when you went from 14 to 18. So when you're waking up at 3 a.m. or you're hungry an hour after eating, or you're snapping at the people that you love, I know that one was a really bad one for me, and then your pants start to get tight, it's not random. It's not a character flaw, it's a pattern. And we're going to look at that pattern today. In the workshop, we go much deeper into how to track those patterns, but I want you to hold this thought for now. My symptoms are not punishments, they're information. They're clues, they're breadcrumbs, as I like to call them. So one of the reasons that this season of life feels so intense is that our body doesn't just hold hormones and digestion, it also holds our stories. I'll give you a simple example I shared in the workshop. When I was younger, my family, we would go on road trips. We would drive from New Brunswick. Actually, we drive from Nova Scotia to New Brunswick to our cottage. And then later years, we were driving from Ontario back to New Brunswick. And during these trips, we would always pack a lunch. And we would pack these lunches and have plums and peaches and salami sandwiches. And we'd stop usually along a side of the road, because there were never any, en routes, or we certainly didn't want to go into a gas station as girls and want to use those dirty bathrooms. So we would just stop on the side of the road and quite often use a farmer's field to stop. And so this particular time, we stopped and used a farmer's field. And if we had to pee, well, we just ran into the farmer's field and peed and hopped back in the car and kept on our way. Well, this particular time, my dad and my middle sister went and just, went a few feet away and started peeing in a field. My poor sister was peeing on a wasp's nest. Oh my gosh. So the poor thing is screaming and crying and running away from the wasp's nest. My dad's running away from the wasp's nest. And we all got back in the car. And she got stung about 6 or 7 times down her leg and was crying. And since that day, if she has wasps that come around her, she is flailing around. She's trying to run away from the wasp, because that story comes back up again. She has a memory actually in her DNA, in her body, holding in her body, that when a wasp comes, it's probably going to sting you. And so she runs the heck away, where I just, kind of brush it off. And, it was the same event, 2 different experiences shared by 2 different bodies. I watched it, but I'm not afraid of wasps, but I also didn't get stung. So your body has been collecting stories like that for decades. Stress, grief, overfunctioning, taking care of everyone else around you. And those stories live in our nervous systems. They actually live in your digestion. They are stored in your bones, in your muscles, in your tissue, and they are stored in your sleep. So when you're waking up at 3 a.m. and you're barking at your partner over something tiny, or you suddenly feel like you need to cry in the grocery store, hormones, yes, they're part of it, but they're also stories that your body is still holding on to. In my coaching and inside the Flourish Academy, we weave traditional Chinese medicine and nervous system work to map out where these stories are showing up. And today I want to give you a simple starting point, I would wait for you to stop for a moment, and instead of saying, "What's wrong with me?" I want you to start asking. You ready for it? What is this trying to tell me? Or what is this asking of me? That question alone shifts you from blame into curiosity. So instead of saying, "What's wrong with me?" I'm going to say it again. I want you to say, "What is this trying to tell me?" Or what is this asking of me? Does your body want more of something? Does it like rest? Or less of something like sugar? It could be as simple as that. So in the workshop, I walk everyone through a full framework using 5 key biometrics I love to use in my coaching, and we really drill down into them together. But I'm not going to give you the entire process here, but I do want to give you a very simple version so you can play with you can play with it right away. Using this question of, instead of saying, "What's wrong with me?" I want you to start saying, "What is it trying to tell me?" Or what is it asking of me? So here's how we start to drill down into this. Pick one symptom. right now, while you're listening, choose one thing that's bugging you the most. Maybe it's your sleep. Maybe it's your energy. Maybe it's your mood swings. How about cravings? How about I feel tired and wired feeling? You feel really tired in the afternoon and all of a sudden you're wired at 7 o'clock. So just pick one. Don't overthink it. What was the first thing that popped into your head? Notice when it shows up. For the next few days, play the role of being a detective. I love getting curious and playing a detective when it comes to our bodies. So I want you to think of a few different scenarios. So think about, when does this usually appear? Is it always later in the day? Or as I said, is it 3 o'clock in the afternoon I get tired and then I get revved up at 7? I want you to be very aware of when it shows up. Does it tend to show up around certain people or certain situations, like my sister seeing a wasp and she has to run away? You don't have to fix anything yet. You're just noticing, that's it. Awareness is the very first incredibly important and powerful first step. So awareness, number one. Then ask your body response questions. What just happened before this and what's happening? So when I was tired at 3 o'clock, what happened when I got tired at 3 o'clock? When I got revved up at 7, what happened before that at 7 o'clock? Am I feeling emotional? What do I want to do right now? And how am I feeling emotionally? Do I want to hide? Do I want to snap at somebody? Do I want to eat? Do I want to numb myself and scroll? Like, what's going on when it shows up? Again, there's no shame. There's no self-attack. We're just gathering information, right? We're just gathering data, breadcrumbs, clues. And this is the tiny sliver of what we do more deeply inside my programs. But even this smallest experiment can be very, very revealing for you. Because the minute you become aware of a pattern, you can't unsee it. It's like magic. And what you do next depends on what showed up, how it showed up, and what it's saying about your body. So when I was 5 years old, I broke my arm and I had to get one of those great big huge casts. It went all the way from my shoulder, all the way down across my elbow and down to my wrist. It was like even around my hands and my thumb. And at first I had to have surgery done in order to set it. And then I had this great big huge massive cast on my arm. I've seen other kids who break their arm and they have like tiny little casts. A few years ago, one of my boys broke his leg and his treatment was different. He didn't need to get into a plaster cast. He didn't need surgery like I did, and he could walk with a boot. And so similar in injury, a broken bone, a different broken bone. And so it ended up being a different tool that could help it heal, which is why so many women are confused by the solutions out there. There are so many to choose from, but we are all made differently. And for women over 40, because our history is in our body, our stories and how we show up day to day, a solution for one woman might not be the best for another woman. I had a one-on-one client, her name is Kirsten, and she is a beautiful example about what can happen when we stop forcing generic plans and start actually listening. When she came to me, she was exhausted. She had joint pain, she was wheezing all the time, she had asthma, and she also had carpal tunnel surgery for her wrists. And we didn't do anything extreme. We didn't do a 10-day boot camp, no 2-hour gym sessions. We simply started with her food for a very short time period. We paid attention to how her body responded while she was eating different foods, and we followed the clues. As we went deeper, we realized something very, very specific about her body. Histamine and estrogen were playing kind of tag in her body. And once we shifted that clue and supported the pattern for her, a few things happened. Her energy came back. That was one of the very first things when she messaged me. She said her stomach felt flatter. She said, I feel better and I don't know how long, were her words. Her pain decreased. She didn't have aches and pains when she was walking around any longer. Her wheezing completely disappeared. And my favorite part was when she called me super excited because she had just left her surgeon's appointment and he canceled her carpal tunnel surgery indefinitely. And he said, keep doing whatever it is that you're doing, keep doing it. Now, this is really important. That doesn't mean that you need to do exactly what Kirsten did and get the same results. Her body, her story, her solution was unique to her body. The point is, when you stop blaming the dryer, the scale, your age, your willpower, and you begin to see your symptoms as information, as clues, your body often responds faster than you think. And there's so much more that I could say here. So in the workshop, we walk through all 5 biometrics in detail. We look at the different sleep patterns and what they might be signaling for you. And we explore how your nervous system goes through different states, through fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, and what those really look like and how they show up in your everyday reactions. And I map out some personalized starting points in there too. So if you want to dive deeper and check out the replay to the Stop Blaming the Dryer workshop, I'll share the link in the show notes and you can grab access for it for $27. But today I want you to think about, okay, maybe it's not just the dryer. Maybe you should also say, maybe my body is just trying to tell me that it's trying to talk to me. Maybe it's been trying to talk to me for a while and you want to go deeper with more support. Then I have a few ways that you can work with me directly. So in the Flourish Academy, I have a group mentorship program for women and who want to really do more than just look at their food. We start with your symptoms, your energy, your stories, and we explore traditional Chinese medicine inspired energy type. So we figure out which is your primary energy type, which, spoiler alert, we are made up of all 5 energy systems, but there are 1 or 2 that tend to be more predominant in everybody's bodies. So once we figure that out, then we can decode what your body is actually using, what is actually saying, and then we use the 5 key biometrics that we talk about inside the workshop. And we use those to drill down inside the Flourish Academy and build a way of living that actually fits your real life. We meet twice a month on coaching calls. We have a private Voxer community, and there's a whole hub of resources and previous workshops, not old workshops, previous workshops you can watch in your own time in there. So Flourish is where we really roll up our sleeves and do that work together for 6 months, 12 months, and you can even add one-on-one calls on there as well if you need it. If you're ready for more deeper support, let's go deep. I just want it to be you and me. Then that's my VIP private coaching program. And you get a bird's eye view of your patterns. And we create a truly personalized plan for your next season. Then you'll find details in the show notes of how to check out the current pricing and how to apply on my website. And I'll put that in the show notes for you. So before we go, I want you to remember this. Your body is not broken. It's not being stubborn. She's just being super smart. The tight pants, the 3 a.m. wake-ups, the cravings, the mood swings, they're not evidence that you're failing. They're breadcrumbs. Remember, they're clues. So this week, instead of going to war with your body, and I want you to instead try getting curious. Pick that one symptom, watch it, ask a few gentle questions about what it means, and see what you notice. And if this episode resonated, I'd love it if you could share it with a friend who's already secretly blaming the dryer, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss our next episode. I'm Stephanie Hunchins-White, and I'll see you next time on the You Being You podcast. Thanks for listening to this episode of the You Being You podcast. If you found something helpful, share it with a friend who needs to hear it. And if you're loving the podcast, I'd be so grateful if you left a review. It helps more women like you tune in and trust their wisdom. Speaking of wisdom, your body is always giving you clues. And if you're curious about what they're saying, take the Hidden Clues quiz. It's a fun way to unlock your energy type and get some answers. You'll find the link in the show notes. And if you're ready for deeper support, the Flourish Academy is where we do this work together, helping women 40 plus feel better, have more energy, and actually enjoy their bodies again. I'll add a link to learn more in the show notes. Until next time, keep trusting yourself and keep being you.